Welcome to the Fun and Fundraising Podcast. This episode is brought to you by Frost Bank. Frost Bank is one of the 50 largest U.S. banks, providing a full range of banking, investments, and insurance services. It operates 200 financial centers in Texas, including 24 in the Austin region. For more than 157 years, Frost has helped Texans across the state with their financial needs by emphasizing long-term customer relationships and providing top quality service. As a result, Frost has earned the highest ranking J.D. Powers Texas Retail Banking Satisfaction Study for 17 years in a row. For more information, please visit www.frostbank.com. Welcome to Fun and Fundraising, everybody, the podcast where we talk with people behind top nonprofit galas and signature fundraising events to showcase how they positively transform their communities. I'm your host, Rob Giardinelli, and today I'm really excited to have two wonderful, amazing guests on. So we have Michael Torres, who is the CEO, and Shonnery Pettit, who is the board chair for an organization called the Center for Child Protection. And every year they host one of Austin's most anticipated and most successful events, and that is the 19th annual Dancing with the Stars Austin. And it really, if you want to talk about how do you make an evening feel glamorous with a local community feel in a really fun way, there really is no better event to talk to and talk about than this one. So I'm really excited for this conversation. And with that, Michael, Shonnery, welcome. And I'm just thrilled you're both here today.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us, Rob.
Absolutely. So, Michael, share with us what the mission of the Center for Child Protection is.
So the center's mission is to reduce trauma to children during the investigation and prosecution of crimes against these children. Uh, Primarily, it's going to be children who are victims of sexual abuse, severe physical abuse, but they could be witnesses to violent crimes, domestic violence, homicide. We are a 24-hour a day, 7-day a week facility. That is the community representative to the Travis County Child Protection Team. And that consists of law enforcement, primarily the Austin Police Department and the Travis County Sheriff's Office. But there are also 24 other jurisdictions, law enforcement jurisdictions here in Travis County. The Travis County District Attorney's Office, Child Protective Services, and Dale Children's Medical Center. And together, we conduct these investigations in a multidisciplinary way with the goal of really putting the child's best interest first. And that to me is the true key and core to this collaboration because we're all equal partners. And, what's in the child's best interest may not always be in law enforcement's best interest, may not always be in prosecutions. Not every case, every child that comes through here, does that go to grand jury because the level of trauma that that child has experienced is really what's driving the direction that we take with these kids.
So well said. And I'm glad you also mentioned while you primarily focus on children who are victims of abuse themselves, there is also, and I'm glad that you all use this, and it's one of the things I think is really key about what you all do, that you also offer it for children who witness, because there can be just as much, if not more trauma than stuff that actually happens to them when they witness that. And to really provide that holistic thing for children who experience anything traumatic that they can utilize, the center can be a home for them to really go through and process that process. So I appreciate you sharing that. And, I always like to hear how people get involved with organizations. So Shonnery, talk to me about how you initially got involved with the organization and, what has made you, advocate for this organization so passionately for so many years.
I love that question. I started an organization in Dallas. I used to live in Dallas about 10 years ago, and I started a nonprofit there for children living in their homeless shelter. And it created a big impact in a short amount of time. And then it was time for my family to move. And so I realized how just wonderful it is to take care of your community and to invest time and energy into people who don't know your name, but who need you. And so that was something that I wanted to find a place to provide service to in Austin. And so when I moved to Austin, my girlfriend said, I've got your place. The Center for Child Protection is the most wonderful organization. It's a well-oiled machine. It is so easy for you to participate. You can be a volunteer at a little level or a big level. It just depends on what kind of service you want to provide. So the ease of entry and how well run the Center for Child Protection was what brought me to them. And friends just highly recommending this is the place where you would make a big impact. As far as what has continued that journey, so as I mentioned, that started 10 years ago. And I started on a small scale of just helping with the Christopher Guild, and I helped make bracelets for our bingo event, and it was somewhat of a community thing where I made friends. That grew to I became a dancer, a celebrity dancer for Dancing with the Stars in 2015. Then that grew to I became a board member. I was a business consultant prior to all of this, and they said, hey, we could utilize your business consulting skills. So I became a board member. And then little by little, that worked up to being the president of the board of directors. I've been serving as the president for the last 3 years. But I have to say, as far as my heart and what keeps me at the center, it's because I see the difference that they make. Every donor dollar goes to servicing our children, and the impact is an individualized focus of every little soul that walks through our door matters in a unique way, and they make sure that they service those children in the way that they are meeting their needs. It's not just a one size fits all. And so the more and more I get involved in understanding the behind the scenes of what the Center for Child Protection looks like, how they run their programs, what they do for clients, the more invested I am in that mission. And I understand that when you make a difference in one child's life, that is a huge impact. But for us, it's a generational thing. So as that child grows and becomes a mother or a father, then they will end the cycle of abuse. And not only that, when you help an abused or neglected child, 98% of the people who are incarcerated check the box that they were abused as children. You impact not only child abuse, but you impact things like homelessness, the incarceration rates, drug and alcohol abuse, teen pregnancy, mental health issues, school violence. There's all these other things that if we help that abused child whenever that safety concern is there and we provide healing, they don't have to fill trauma holes later. So to me, this organization not only makes a difference, but makes a big difference in our community.
So well said and so passionately said. And there's one thing, because of all that passion, one of the things I'm most impressed with about that is actually you and how you came from another city and got involved. And a lot of people struggle with that. So what advice would you give to somebody who is moving to a new city and wants to get involved in their community?
I would say talk to your friends. Really go out there and say, I am looking for service opportunities and relay to them what's in your heart. Because what we see, Michael and I both, when we're looking for board members, committee members, anyone who wants to volunteer for the center, the thing that we really hold tried and true is we want them to be passionate about our mission. We want them to understand that when you help those abused children, you're helping our future, right? And so I would say come to town, relay what your mission focus is, and then talk to your friends to validate and verify that whatever organization you're spending your time, energy, talent, and money in, that they believe in the leadership and the execution of that mission.
Gosh, that was so well said. So well said and so accurate and so true for anyone wanting to move into a new city. And Michael, I'd love to hear, how you initially got involved and, what made you say yes to being the CEO. And I'd also love for you to share some of your insights on leadership because Michael is consistently ranked as one of the top CEOs, not just in nonprofits, but just CEOs in Austin. So I'd love for you to talk about how you got involved with the organization, but how you have been able to create this community that's turned into a family that really does serve as a force for good in the Austin community.
Well, let's see. My story began about 32 years ago when I'd been working out in corporate America for 10 years, and I had been involved in banking in the 80s. And if you know anything about that, it was a hot mess here in Texas. And I really just decided that, being a corporate, clone, if you will, is what I felt like so much of the time, was not how I wanted to spend my life. And so I went back to school at the University of Texas, and I was actually working in Dr. Holden's. I was doing some research with him regarding child abuse. And so I just through sheer circumstance, I had a mortgage. I needed to be able to pay the bills, and so I answered an ad for as a part-time bookkeeper here at the center. And it was really interesting, Rob, because what I discovered was that it wasn't so much that I didn't like what I was doing before. I just didn't like where I was doing it. And so that, and I hated graduate school. So I left school, came to the center, and that literally was 31 years ago. And I really just, at the time when I started, there were only 4 employees. It was really at the beginnings, not only of the center itself, but of the multidisciplinary team. And I got an opportunity to be involved at the very beginning of how we were systemically changing how children are handled by the criminal justice system. It didn't start with us being a 24-hour a day facility. That worked out because over time we gained the trust of law enforcement, of our agency partners, and really became sort of the hub, if you will. I always like to use a wagon wheel analogy. The center community, and that's really what the center is a hub, is the middle part of that, and then each of the spokes are our partners, and our role is to keep us all moving in that right direction, which is what's in the best interest of the children. And so because I was involved so much from the very beginning, our founding director really felt like my past history in the evolution of the center would make me a good candidate to be her successor. And thankfully, the board of directors back in 2011 agreed. And I took over as the director of the center in January of 2012. And I think I'm working on year 14 now as the director. So, it truly is, Shonnery referenced this as in regards to community members getting involved. It really is about that passion that you have because that passion on those really hard days when something is happening that isn't necessarily the greatest thing, could be a client issue, could be just a business issue that we all deal with, funding, losing staff. There's never a morning I don't get up and remind myself why I'm doing this and say, let's do it again.
Well, the passion, you can tell the passion just in both of you, and you both are just such fierce advocates for, for the center and for this community. And Michael, I want to follow up with one question. 31 years is a long time to be involved with an organization, especially in a city that has evolved a lot. It was probably 40% of the size it is today when you first got involved. So how can an in your opinion, how does an organization successfully evolve with the city, especially when it's growing, to be able to grow with the city so that you can provide this, an important niche of services that are needed within a community?
Well, Rob, I think that's the beauty of our model. You hear a lot about collaboration and partnership and there are organizations that are some that are doing that or that you hear about, and it's really just, hey, we're going to meet once a month and talk about things, but you never really see the true impact of that collaboration. And I think what has made the center ever so successful is the fact that community is so involved in what it is that we're doing. When Shonnery and I are interviewing potential board candidates, one of the things that we consistently say, this is not a resume board. This is a working board. And, the every board member that comes in is providing some sort of expertise to us that we feel like we need that's going to help expand our outreach. I remember in the early days of the center, our first fundraiser was our luxury raffle. And at that point, we were selling tickets for $5 each, six for 25 at Highland Mall. We would set up there for 30 days, like from the opening at 9 to the close at 9. And there were volunteers that would come, there was staff that would come. And that was the way that, we really began because we were constantly being confused with CASA. They were a much more established organization. And interestingly enough, our founding director, Sandra Martin, is the one who started the CASA program here in Travis County. So, it just really sort of added to the confusion of it all. But it was only through that community involvement and them constantly bringing new ideas for fundraisers and really giving us the ability to take the risks. The board, I guess it was about 15 years ago, made the decision to change the price of those raffle tickets to $100 each. And there was lots of conversation, lots of consternation over whether that was a smart idea or not. And yet we have just completed our, I don't know what year raffle we're on, but it began in 92. So somebody can do the math.
33,
But
34 raffles
yes,
later.
somewhere around there. And we sold it out a month early. And so it really is the power of community,
Well,
that helps us grow, helps fill those niches, and like gives us the ability to expand our services in the way that we've been able to over all this time.
Well, I love that, the organization has stretched itself time and time again. And, you have to think about those things and be thoughtful, but it is okay to stretch and take things to the next level, just so that you can expand the services. And really one way that you have done that, and I want to turn to, one of the reasons we're here today is to talk about Dancing with the Stars. And 19 years ago, you bet on this little event my husband danced in the first year when no one really kind of knew the phenomenon that it would become, very, very quickly. And I think part of that is that you've had a core devoted group of supporters that have really been involved with it from, if not day one, from very early on. Shonnery, I'd love for you to go first, and then Michael, I'd love for you to chime in. But what is one thing an organization can do to create a devoted following for its annual gala or signature fundraiser?
That is a great question. So I will say, but going back to Michael's point about community bringing a good idea, an organization needs to lead with yes. They need to not be scared of taking chances. I just did a commencement speech to a graduating class, a senior graduating class. And one of the things I asked my friends was, what advice would you give graduating seniors? And it's don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to dream big and try big and do big because big things happen whenever you go for it. And so I would just say that part of that qualification of Michael Torres not only being a great CEO in the nonprofit world, but a great CEO, period, is the fact that he leads with yes. He takes a good idea and says, let's try it and let's see what happens. So that's the number one secret for the secret sauce. Number two is to have mobilize an army that's ready to go out and talk to their friends and talk to their friends and talk to their friends, because we can't just be in an echo chamber where we're only talking to one another. We have to spread the word. Michael Shaughnessy is our past president, and he encouraged us last in his term as president of the board to be a louder voice in our community. That is another secret to success, is we have to encourage people to go out and be those voices in the community that says this is something that makes a big difference in our community. We should invest in its success and really make it an extraordinary event. And then you have to have the staff and the event team behind it to create that magical night where everyone's sitting in the room and they understand that they're not just there for a party, but they're there to understand about a mission, and they're going to have fun fundraising. Hey now, fun and fundraising. That's the third secret to making a successful event, in my opinion.
Those were all great and very, very true answers. And I love how you incorporated the title of this podcast into your answer. That was amazing. And Michael, I'd love for your perspective on this, especially as someone who was a part of it in year one through the organization. How have you been able to create that devoted following over the last 19 years?
Well, I do think it's a lot of what Shonnery said. You get the right people in the room, they can be extraordinarily creative and truly being willing to fail. I remember when they came with the idea for dancing. I'd never watched the show on ABC. I had no idea what they were talking about. And I literally said, let me get this straight. We're going to ask people to dance. People are going to pay money to watch them dance, and that's going to be the fundraiser. And they were like, oh, yeah, we can do this. And I was like, okay. Shortly after that, I started watching the show. I forget what season it was, but I was like, holy cow. And then being able to see it in action that first year, um, the people that were there, including Lance, they had a blast doing this. And, we didn't raise as much money that first year as we do now, but it was still a profitable fundraiser. And then you start it up again and you're like, okay, how can we build on that? And, every year the group that is there is building the foundation for the next year. And you take the good ideas, you take the things that didn't work, and you drop those out, you add new things, you try out new ideas. And we're in year 19, and last 2 years we've, grossed 3.8 million both years. We're doing something right.
You're doing a lot
Yeah.
right.
And the more important thing is there are still people that want to dance. I think one of the early boards of directors had some real concerns that dancing, it was going to just be a fad and only last, a couple of years. And even I'm amazed that we've carried it this far and it's still as successful as it is. But I think the Austin community itself helps a lot. Austin is a community that loves events. There are more nonprofits here in Austin per capita than anywhere else in the world. They love helping our community, as Shonnery said. It's really a perfect storm, if you will, that really comes together every December in an extraordinary evening.
It absolutely does. And, I want to touch upon something where you were just saying, if it's a good idea, you're gonna experiment and take it. I think one of the things that you all have done, but I wish many more nonprofits would consider, that what I find to be highly innovative is that for the last several years, Dancing with the Stars Austin has had event chairs sign up for 2-year commitments and talk about the benefits of that from a fundraising perspective and how that's because I've seen once you all started doing that is when the event really started to scale in my mind. So I'd love for you to share your thoughts and insights on that.
I'd love to talk to
Oh,
that.
go
So
ahead, Shonnery.
I do think that it's very important that you find two, because we have two co-chairs that are ready to really attack the whole outreach component, understanding that there's expectations of the event, not only through fundraising, but also through outreach, but mainly also to connect hearts and minds to our mission. We have seen that in a 2 year span, people come in and they're a little nervous. They're like, oh, this is a big thing and this is a lot to take on. And especially just recently, with those millions of dollars coming in, that's intimidating for some leaders to say, oh, I got to do better than last year and better than last year. So the first year is all about that learning curve, understanding how to work the event, work with the event staff, lead a committee. And what's beautiful about that, and what I'm so proud of, is the well-oiled machine that is the Center for Child Protection has an event staff that stays the same. Right? So the event staff is there. They're the execution of all the years of knowledge. We've been there, we've done that. We've asked this person. They're an accumulation of a knowledge source. And then we have these fresh ideas and these co-chairs that come in with vigor and excitement and networks that they can tap into with great ideas. And they've gone to other events and said, ooh, we should incorporate what this event did. And here's a really cool idea. And let's do this tablescape. So it always feels fresh and new. And those chairs stay on the committee for the next year so that they're a resource for our next chairs coming in. So we've always got that transition of power where we are supporting the co-chairs in the most great way, where they feel taken care of, but they also feel, going back to that lead with yes, they also feel like I'm coming in with good ideas that are heard.
Amazing answer, and all very, very true. And I'd love for both of you to chime in on this next question, and especially because I view a successful event, it's a three-legged stool. You have to have a strong board, you have to have strong leadership at the nonprofit, and you have to have a strong event chair. So, Michael, I'd love for you to chime in first. What are the common traits of a strong event chair?
Well, I think first and foremost, you have to have passion for the mission because you're selling that mission to, in many, many instances, people that aren't familiar with who you are and what it is that you do. And I think, we've referenced this in all of our volunteers and even to our staff to agree. It's a part of our culture here that, you have to believe in what it is that we're trying to do here because the work that we're doing on a daily basis is not easy work. It's not. Every day there's 5 new children showing up that have been a victim. And that's just Travis County because we're a children's advocacy center, and here in the greater metropolitan area, there's children's advocacy centers in all the counties that surround us. So, that to me is first and foremost. And then I think, there's got to be just a little bit of a competitive streak because, as Shonnery alluded to, the bar from the previous year has been set, and you have a desire to try to do better than the group before. And so I think the people that are leading that we've asked to be chairs are always so talented that I know it may sound like a negative thing, but it's a great thing. They're A-type personalities that are out there going, hey, here's how we can do this. And here's something maybe you haven't thought of. And it really helps make the event be bigger from one year to the next because I do think if we did not have that power behind us, what that original board of directors thought would happen would have happened. We would have died after a couple of years. But that, clearly has not been the case. Shonnery, what are your thoughts?
Oh, I have many. So the thing I will tell you is, as I look at the current chairs, we've got Amy Beard and Bridget Rainey. They are just phenomenal in rolling up their sleeves and going out and talking to their networks and saying, okay, you've got multiple ways that you can help this event be successful. You can do sponsorships. You can do live auction donations. You can do silent auction donations, buy a table, sponsor the photo booth. There's all these different
Dance.
components of, yes, Dan, do you want to be in the room? Do you want to participate? How big do you want to participate? These ladies have gone out and really knocked on doors and asked their friends to knock on doors. And so they've mobilized that army. The other thing that I think that this year, which was, it's just, as Michael said, each year we just learn more lessons and we get better and better and better. Bridget and Amy really came up with the idea of, let's set an expectations page. So we literally went to the dancers and said, these are our expectations of you, because they have to commit not only their time, talent, and treasure, but they also have to commit their bodies, and they have to, like, it is a commitment. And they wanted to be very upfront to say, this is what our expectations are for you. And when you sign on, you're signing a contract with us saying you understood what we wanted from you and you were willing to give what we wanted.
That is the expectations page. I think that's great because that really allows everybody to be on the same page. And that's where a lot of, fundraising events can be unsuccessful is when people all kind of have their own different expectations or they're all kind of running off, kind of doing their own thing and not being at the core. And I think that's an amazing thing. And I hope that anyone listening, if you've got a nonprofit gala, that's definitely a thing to consider adding. And one thing, with the commitment, on top of that, you've got to get 10 to 12 dancers to say yes. You've got to get judges to say yes. You've got to get MCs to say yes. There's a lot of people. I mean, it takes a village, and literally it's a village of people. I mean, it's basically you're putting about a fifth of the size of Round Top on the people who have to say yes to going to this event
Yeah.
or to being like a headliner of this event. So, Michael, what is the secret? Because I mean, you've been doing this. I mean, you've had to have over 200 dancers by now say yes, not to
Mhm.
mention the judges and the other folks. What is the secret to getting someone to say yes? I'm going to devote my time. I'm going to devote my energy. I'm going to devote my body, and I'm going to devote my treasure, like Shonnery said.
I think it's the committee more than anything that is running the event and the chairs because they're the ones making all the asks. They're the ones that are putting the network out into their community and are saying, either raising awareness by having people come in the prior year or people they know that have been there. There's an overall understanding of who can really take the baton and understand that there's going to need to be funds raised in addition to, you actually dancing and raising awareness. And I think it's that network that the committee has and that willingness to say, and I hear it so much every time I'm attending a meeting, I'll make that ask. I'll make that ask. I mean, it's that constant, I'll do that. And so it's so much positive energy, that I'm just amazed. I don't have that creative ability myself. I don't. But to be able to recruit those individuals that do from year one to year 19 is pretty extraordinary.
It,
I'd
it
like
really is. Go ahead, Shonnery.
I'd love to just expand on that too, because him saying about the committee, it is so, so, so important. This is kind of a behind the scenes look. We have a database of over 700 people that have been suggested to us, right? So every year we have the event, people come up to us after the event and say, holy smokes, this is incredible. I have a background in dance. I want to dance. So we have accumulated a list of over 700 names of people who we've considered, we think would be good dancers, we think are amazing people in our community and have influence in our community. Because remember, this is Dancing with the Stars. So what we're looking for are those people that are within our community that are mission focused, that understand that they have expectations that need to be met and are willing to go out there and preach, really tell about the center and how good things are based on how we're helping kids in their darkest hour. So that database, if you will, we go through it line item by line item. And sometimes it says, well, we asked this person last year. She said yes, but she got injured in the middle of the year, and she told us to come back next year and ask. Or someone says, I'm having a baby, come and talk to me. Whatever it is, there's all these life circumstances, and we try to make sure that we're representing each part of Austin. So we've got North Austin, Old Austin, all of these different areas. Not only that, we want diversity in our cast, and we want different age ranges. And some people are new to Austin, and some people are native Austinites. So we like to have a total representation of new and old, all sorts of personality types, diversity. We've got 5 men and 5 women, generally speaking. Sometimes we've gone up to 6 and 6, but generally it's a 5 and 5 ratio. And we just go through that list and say, okay, what is it diversity wise, age wise, around Austin, and we tick off boxes and come up with that cast. And it takes a whole lot of asks, because what I said about failing and that Michael leads with yes, there are times whenever we're like, this person would be great. And they're like, no way, I'm not doing this. No, so sometimes we're knocking on doors and they are just like, no, I'm not willing to go out and dance. That's just not my personality. That's not what I want to do. But most of the time they'll donate or do something great for our organization. So there are a lot of no's that lead to yeses, and there's a lot of really strategic thinking around who we do cast.
Well, and I think one of the reasons that it's not so, I don't want to say not overwhelming, that's probably the wrong phrase, but the fact that you've got 700 people in a database, if
Yeah.
you're looking for 10 to 12 to say yes, that's like 1.5 to 2%. It's not a huge amount, but because you've built this incredible database, and if someone had a life situation, you can go back because, this is showbiz to a degree, and in showbiz, timing is everything, as they
Right.
say. You
Yeah.
have that ability to go back and do that. And I think that's part of the secret sauce of your all success is you've built this database. You know who are the people you've asked, and you know who couldn't right now, but they said, come back to me next year or in 2 years or in 4 years when my kid's out of college or whatever it is, to go about and doing that. And I think that's a key component of that. And I know that, the dancers are announced. And Michael, I'd love for you to share the list of dancers this year. And Shonnery, I know there's one that that appeared on the actual main one on top of one of the judges who actually won one year. So I mean, there's lots of ties to the mothership on ABC/Disney.
There is. There is. And that dancer I think you're referencing is Danny Amendola. We're real excited to have him dance this year. Bruce Craig, Allison Ellsworth, Crystal Ferris, Mark McCollum, Dr. Patel Tejas, I think is how you say his first name, Dana Sasser, Skylar Shannon, Dr. John Tsai, and Leslie Gossett Warden. Those are our dancers for this year. And our judges, we have a couple of returning judges, Jeff Jumanville, who's always a riot,
Love him.
JR, who won dancing, on the big show, and has judged for us for a couple of years, and a new judge for us, Amanda Tatum.
That's fantastic. And then not to mention Chris Harrison and Lauren Zima as MCs. So I mean that's a rock star group of people right there. And Shonnery, I'll never forget we were at the rap party last year. You came up and you were telling me that you were getting this recent dance. So I want to hear all about that and how you all, were able to get someone who's literally coming off a national show to do this again.
Yeah, it's the power of community, and it's the power of communicating our mission in a way that, and I will say part of the secret sauce is the fact that our event is executed to perfection. Literally, our event staff has done this so many times that when you come into our night of dancing, you leave feeling like, wow, that was glamorous. It was fun. It was exciting. We really truly have created an atmosphere that looks like the ABC network would be proud to come and put their cameras on our event. That's how cool it is. Now, Danny Amendola, woo! He played football with Tom Brady. He's like a legitimate like dancer for Dancing with the Stars, as is J.R. Martinez. J.R. Martinez, our judge, won Dancing with the Stars. Last year, Danny Amadeo danced and won second, and he just had his center friend visit, which is we have all of the dancers come in for a center friend visit to try to connect that heart and mind to our mission. They walk in the shoes of our children. They come to the center. They see how we treat the kids whenever they're going to their forensic interviews, through therapy, all of that. And as we led Danny through that center friend visit, whenever he sat down, he said, I cannot wait to put on my dancing shoes and to dance for this organization. He said, it matters as much to me as I was on the television show as I'm doing it in front of your audience because I really realize how important your mission is. So I am so excited about him because not only is he completely talented, he was learning a choreography where he had to dance multiple dances over the weeks, right? And 3 minutes worth of choreography. That's a lot of learning in your head. He only has one dance to do, one night. He feels like he's going to be a rock star at it, but more than just his dancing skills and his celebrity status. Because, like I told you before, whenever we were talking about the rap party, boys want to come see him because of his football background, and girls want to see him because he's handsome. So it's one of those things where people want to be in the room just because of our celebrities. We've also got all of our celebrities are that way. We've got, the vitality and funness of Bruce Craig and Crystal Ferris, who is someone who loves the center so much, and she speaks at our golf tournament. Dana Sasser is a magic maker in the Christopher Guild. Skylar Shannon is part of Round Top Film Festival, which I'm a founding board member there. And then all of the other dancers, Allison Ellsworth, Poppy is the brand that she started, which is a drink that is sold on Amazon, and she's in every Target store. Allison, once she heard about our mission and really connected her heart to what we're doing, approached Poppy and said, we need another title sponsor. So this year, for the first time ever, Mercedes-Benz of Boston, who we love and appreciate so, so, so very much, is now also partnering with Poppy. We're going to have a co-title sponsor in Mercedes-Benz of Austin and Poppy. So that's pretty extraordinary.
That really is extraordinary. It just goes to show the growth and the scale of this event. And Michael, would you be able to tease? I know you can't give away the farm, but can you tease a couple of things that people might be able to expect at this year's Dancing with the Stars? Dancing or some of the other things that happen on top of the
Um,
dancing?
we dancing is it primarily, but obviously we always have a really good auction, and this is where the committee gets together and figures out what are the really great things this year that people are going to want to do, are going to want to have to really sort of create that auction. And then we spend a lot of time as a staff, and the board is involved with this as well, developing a video that really is going to help the community, the people that are there attending the event, really understand the mission of the center and what it is that our children unfortunately may be experiencing, and how the center itself, the child protection team, and them in the room there can actually help these children who are coming every day. And so, that the video was not something that we did in the early days of dancing. I think we added that along in year 7 or 8. And interestingly enough, at first there was opposition to us doing that. But our title sponsor at that point in time was adamant that we needed to educate the community on the center's mission, and that's the best way to do it.
Can I say something?
Sure.
Absolutely.
So Dr. Patel is known for his TikTok account. So you can follow Dr. Patel on his TikTok account because he has some great dance moves that he already does on TikTok. He's pretty famous for that. So that's a kind of a teaser right there. Then we've got Dr. Sai, who is also very suave and debonair. So he's going to be a very suave dancer. But then Mark McCollum is the great country singer Parker McCollum's dad. So he's going to be a joy to watch. His daughter is on our board. We're so grateful for Michael. And they are donating some things to the live auction, and I will not give that away. But I will tell you that there is going to be some competitiveness in that room because I want what we're about to auction off in that live auction because Mark McCollum is bringing some amazing things to that live auction. So that's some teasers. And I also want to say we got a new director, creative director this year. And he is bringing some of the glitz and glamour of the stage, the Broadway stage. And so it's going to feel brand new. When people come in the room, the stage setup's going to be different. The lighting is going to be different. You're going to feel a transition this year in the creative vision because of that creative director that's new.
Oh, th those are some great teases amongst all of you with the auction and the creative direction. I mean, I can't wait for it. I know it will be amazing. And I know we're coming up on time, but I always like to end with this one question. And Michael, we'll start with you, and Shonnery, you can have the last word. And that is, what is one thing all successful fundraising events have in common?
Well, I can only speak from my 31 years of experience, and and
Is
I
that
will
all,
say
Michael?
that, yeah, I will say it's having that passionate community. They bring the ideas, they help us with execution, they invite their network to come and attend the event. I do not see us being successful without the community involvement.
Very well said. And Shonnery?
Yeah, I would echo that just in different words. So you can hang a sheet up and just open the door to a gymnasium. I have had conversations with people in Midland, Odessa who are trying to do their Dancing with the Stars there, and they're like, we're not as sophisticated. The secret sauce behind this is that whenever those people walk into your venue, you want them to be connected to your mission. You want them to understand that this event is connected to solving something that matters. Solving child abuse is something that should impact all of us. We should all care. We should all invest in every little soul that walks through the door for the Center for Child Protection. And when people come to our events and they feel that and they understand that, it's easier to donate to a live auction, buy a silent auction item, come and donate, come and volunteer. That connection to mission is the secret sauce to an effective fundraiser for your organization.
The mission and passion, I mean, those two answers you gave, that both of you gave were so interlocked and intertwined. And, I can't thank you both enough. I mean, this time together today is really, you showcase why Center for Child Protection is just one of the best run nonprofits really anywhere in the country. So thank you both so much for joining us today. There was so much great information. I was just thrilled to have you both here.
Well,
Thank
thank you for inviting us, Rob.
Absolutely. And the 19th annual Dancing with the Stars, presented by Mercedes-Benz of Austin and Poppy, benefiting the Center for Child Protection, will be held on December 6, 2025 at the JW Marriott in Austin, Texas. For more information, please visit centerforchildprotection.org. And that will do it for this episode of Fun and Fundraising. I'm your host, Rob Giardinelli, reminding you to keep it fun, keep it interesting, and your guests will have a great time. Have a great day, everyone, and take care. This episode of the Fun and Fundraising Podcast was brought to you by Frost Bank. Frost Bank is one of the 50 largest U.S. banks, providing a full range of banking, investments, and insurance services. It operates 200 financial centers in Texas, including 24 in the Austin region. For more than 157 years, Frost has helped Texans across the state with their financial needs by emphasizing long-term customer relationships and providing top quality service. As a result, Frost has earned the highest ranking in J.D. Power's Texas Retail Banking Satisfaction Study for 17 years in a row. For more information, please visit www.frostbank.com.